All right, we're here with Mike. We're going to do this kind of like a little interview style today. So, Mike, what was your first interest in writing? Why did you think you could make that into a career?
Well, I didn't want to get a job, and it seemed to me that writers played for a living. And the revelation came to me when I was a kid in Mitchell, South Dakota, and I went into a cigar store, and the cigar store had a spinner rack filled with paperback books. And the paperback book sold for, I think, 60 cents a copy. That was the cover price. And I picked up a novel by John D. MacDonald. I believe it was The Deep Blue Goodbye, the first one in the Travis McGee series. And I read it, and I loved it. And then I thought, holy shit, this guy's not doing this for his health. He must get paid for it. That's what I want to do. I only wish that I hadn't gotten serious about my writing much earlier than I did. Because it took me 30 years to learn how to write a novel. And the reason is I'm a slow learner and I screwed around a lot. But when I got it, I got it.
Good. So you're best known for comic books. How did you get into the comic book world of writing and getting comic books published?
Well, I always wanted to just tell stories in fiction. I loved comics, and my gateway drug to comics were Uncle Scrooge by Carl Barks. In fact, when I was 12 years old, I tracked him down and he sent me a sketch, which I still have. When I moved to Boston after college, I met a number of amazing illustrators, and I wanted to do comics, but of course I couldn't draw. My first collaboration was with Larry Gonick, who did the cartoon History of the Universe, and we did a little satirical comic called Tie Tack. But I was lucky. I moved back to Madison, Wisconsin, and an editor friend hooked me up with Steve Root. He called me one day. I was working in an insurance company. He says, there's a guy down here trying to sell us his drawings, and he draws just like you, which means that I was trying to draw superhero comics very badly. I'm a very bad artist, good enough to get my ideas across. So I met the dude, and I looked at his drawings, and right there I decided, well, I'm not going to waste my time trying to draw comics when I got a guy like this. And we hooked up. We were in the right place at the right time. We heard that Capital City Distribution, the second largest distributor of comics in the world at the time, was looking to publish their own books. So we put together the 12-page presentation of Nexus, which is the first 12 pages of Nexus that's still in print, and we were off and running.
Great. So what tips do you have people who say, I want to write a novel, or I want to write a comic book, or I want to be an artist?
Well, writers are people who have to write, and if you're not writing regularly, you're not a writer. They're compelled to write. Now, I don't mean that you have to write every day. Even I don't write every day, but I make notes every day, and I work at it steadily, especially when I have a project. And if you're a writer, the important thing is to just get in the habit of writing. You learn by doing. But there are so many ways to become a writer. I became a writer by being a journalist for a number of newspapers in Boston. I wrote for the Real Paper, the Boston Phoenix, the Boston Globe, Fusion. I had a column in Cream magazine. Later, when I moved back to Madison, I wrote for Isthmus. It's good training. It teaches you to listen to people, to get their dialogue correctly. And they used to teach the 5 W's. Who, what, where, when, why, and how, which is an honorary W. I don't see much of that anymore, but it's good training. It's training because you learn how to write, and it was my habit, and it has been my habit all my life to get up and hit the keyboard and start writing. These days I'm very scientific about it. I used to just sit down and wing it. I thought I'd just pull a thread out of the air and start writing a novel and see where it went. Well, very few successful authors do that. I'll name 2 of them. Peter Brandvold is one, and Elmore Leonard is another. They both wrote without outlines. Pete writes without an outline today. Elmore Leonard passed on. Most writers outline. I didn't outline for many years, but now I outline, and I enjoy outlining. And the reason is that the outline is designed to be an advertisement for whatever it is I'm writing. That means the outline has to be entertaining in and of itself. I want to be able to hand person the outline, they read it and say, yeah, where's the book? And if you want to know what an outline should sound like, or a blurb, there's a video. You can easily find it on any search engine. It's called 5 Guys in a Limo. Google that. Watch the video. It's 5 of the greatest voiceover artists in Hollywood going to an awards ceremony, introducing themselves one by one as they get in the car. And the way they talk is the way your outline should sound, and the way your description of your story should sound. Because the first lesson I always teach is, what is your story about? And when somebody asks you that question, you have to be ready. And you have to be ready with an answer that excites and entices. So it takes a little preparation beforehand. Some are real simple. There's an apocryphal story that Star Trek was, Gene Roddenberry said, wagon train in space. And those 3 words were enough to sell it. I have a novel called Helmet Head. It's about Nazi biker zombies. And those 3 words are enough to sell that. But other stories are more complicated and they take a little more explication.
Okay, great. So thanks, Mike. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, our goal is to upload a new video to YouTube. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Really appreciate it. And thanks for taking a listen. Okay, bye-bye.